So if the show you're watching on TV makes you want to run around your house in short bursts doing the handblade movement thing, you could say it's affected you emotionally. The Flash was developed by Arrow showrunners Greg Berlanti and Andrew Kreisberg, as well as DC Comics writer and chief creative officer Geoff Johns. Based on the DC Comics character Barry Allen, the Flash, we're introduced to Grant Gustin's character Barry Allen. Now, this character was actually introduced in a two-part Arrow story during the second season of Arrow, meaning that this series takes place in the same universe as Arrow, in which Barry Allen, a crime scene analyst for Central City, goes to Starling City to investigate a break-in involving a person that turns out to be laced with Mirakuru, in that he is really strong and impervious to various forms of harm, like gunshots and, well, arrows. So Barry goes to investigate that. Why? When Barry was little, his mother was murdered by a force of speed. Just some lightning-looking speed force that was spinning around his mother. Something in that force of speed took little Barry out of his home and far away from all of it. When he ran back, police were at his house and his father was getting arrested. Barry did all he could to talk about the man in yellow that he saw in that force of lightning. But the police didn't believe him, said he was just blocking the memory, he was traumatized, whatever, he's lying to protect his father. So his father goes to prison for the murder and has been there ever since. Since then, Barry has been trying to prove that his father didn't murder his mom. He kind of develops a Fox Mulder complex, in which he investigates various paranormal, superhuman, supernatural events to try to see if it's any way related to the thing that killed his mother. And that's what brought him to Starling City in that two-parter Arrow show. Now, in that two-parter, he ends up helping Arrow a lot, even discovering that the Arrow is actually Oliver Queen. But once that adventure is over, he goes back to Central City, in which a particle accelerator at Star Labs is about to be activated, something that would be scientifically revolutionary. Then something goes wrong. The particle accelerator has a major explosion, releasing a particle cloud that affects various people, inducing them with metahuman abilities, including Barry, who is given the ability of super speed. But not before the lightning strike in his crime scene lab puts him into a coma for 9 months. When Barry wakes up, he finds himself in Star Laboratories with the three people that are working there, Cisco Ramon, Dr. Caitlin Snow, and Dr. Harrison Wells, who are studying him to make sure he's okay, to figure out how he's still alive. But soon after he comes to, he and his newfound colleagues at Star Labs discover he has the superhuman ability of super speed, and soon afterwards dons a red costume with lightning bolts and dubs himself the Flash, the Scarlet Speedster, the fastest man alive, and uses his abilities to protect Central City and its people, find other metahumans that were affected by the particle accelerator, and stop them from doing anything not very good. But the ultimate goal of the Flash is that he needs to find the man in yellow that murdered his mother. And he is closer than ever because now he has the abilities that the man in yellow also has. And that is our show, The Flash. Now let me go through each individual character, starting with Grant Gustin as Barry Allen. Barry Allen is such a great character on this show. He's very relatable. There's just something about when he discovers his powers, when he goes through his emotions, about struggling to find his mother's killer and to get his father out of prison, his relationship with his adoptive father, Joe. He's just such a great character, so relatable, and fits in so well with the lighthearted tone that this show has, in stark contrast with its sister series, Arrow, which is supposed to be dark and gritty. We have Candice Patton, who plays Iris West. Now, Iris and Barry were friends when they were children. However, they got really close after he was adopted by her father after Barry's mother was killed and his father was sent to prison. Barry always had romantic feelings for Iris. However, they got so close that he never could make an opportunity for himself to tell her of his feelings. And then after he was put into a coma, he missed that opportunity. Now, as for Iris as a standalone character, she's an aspiring reporter. At the start of this series, she creates a blog reporting on various sightings of what was first called The Streak, but later she redubs it The Flash. This eventually lands her a job at the Central City Picture News newspaper organization. There's a little bit of a Superman Lois Lane kind of thing going, especially in certain scenes when the Flash and Iris would talk to one another. It's reminiscent. It's not identical. There's still a sense of individuality to it. Like, it's not completely derivative. Danielle Panabaker plays Dr. Caitlin Snow. She worked at Star Labs at the beginning. Well, she still does, but she was working on the particle accelerator at the beginning of the show. She had a fiancé named Ronnie Raymond, who also worked at the particle accelerator. However, Ronnie disappeared and was believed to be killed in the accident. So thus, at the start of the series, Dr. Snow is a bit cold. Her attitude's a little harsh to Barry at the start of the show. However, she warms up. She gets used to her new role now, helping the Flash out, studying other metahumans, doing their service for Central City, kind of to make up for the harm they caused with the particle accelerator accident in the first place. Then we have Cisco Ramon, played by Carlos Valdes. He is a mechanical engineer at Star Labs. He is very young, very youthful. I mean, he's probably like just out of college. And he also kind of stands in for the audience, especially the more geeky audience, because he is a bit of a geek himself. I was worried at the start that he was going to be like that annoying nerd character at the show, but this character has a third dimension that makes you care about him a whole lot. It makes him an equal member of the complete ensemble of The Flash, because that's something that is a major strength of this show. It's not just Barry's show, it's an ensemble. He's the one that cites one-liners related to movie references and comes up with the villain names. That was actually very clever to have him come up with villain names as like a fun thing, and everyone just gets on board with it, and they ask, who are you calling this guy? Oh, I'm gonna call him like Rainbow Raider or something. So while he does silly stuff like that, he does have moments where his innocence leads to very emotional events for him. If he's taking this seriously, if he's being serious about something, if he's not getting any amusement out of it, you know that this is a big, serious moment on the show. Rick Cosnett plays Detective Eddie Thawne, who recently transfers to the Central City Police Department. Eddie is Iris West's boyfriend when Barry comes to. Not before he was struck, but afterwards, they're an item, a big, close item. Now, of course, this means there is a love triangle in this show between Iris, Eddie, and Barry. It's handled very, very well on this show. One thing I always hate about love triangles is that there's the girl, there's the guy she's with, and then there's the guy she's obviously supposed to be with, not because the source material says so, but because the other guy's a jerk. But he's not the jerk boyfriend. He's not an idiot. He's not dumb. He's a good guy that's capable, competent, and intelligent, making this love triangle all the more interesting because she could just end up with him at the end of things. It also makes it more conflicting for Barry because he also knows that Eddie is a good guy. So therefore, he really has nothing for Eddie to go against him. He has to focus on Iris's happiness and hope that Iris is happy in the end of things. What's also great about this love triangle, it doesn't get in the way of the show. It's like a side story that grows throughout the or develops throughout the season, I should say. But it doesn't get in the way. It's not this piece of bullshit that becomes the A plot, where a villain becomes a B plot in anything. It's not that big. Tom Cavanagh plays Dr. Harrison Wells. Harrison Wells becomes a mentor figure for Barry after the accident. He's the one that takes Barry in to take care of him, to study him, make sure he's okay after he was struck by lightning and put into a deep coma. I'll tell you this. Harrison Wells, this guy, has a dark secret. You don't know what it is at the start, and I'm not going to spoil it for you because there's a big reveal coming to the end of the season. Let's just say there's a lot more that he knows than he's letting on. And finally, we have Jesse L. Martin, who plays Detective Joe West. Now, I was pretty surprised to see this guy on the show because him being a police detective, it was immediate throwback to Law & Order when he played a detective on that show. But I also know he's a talented actor as he was in the original cast of Rent. He was even in the movie version, which he was good at, so I knew he was going to be great on this show. And he is great on this show as Detective Joe West, who should be on a list of, like, best TV fathers years from now. Because he plays a great surrogate father figure for Barry. I mean, he had to. Barry's father was put away in prison, so Detective West had to take care of Barry. What's also nice is that Joe knows Barry's secret from the pilot episode. So it's not like Barry's keeping a secret from him. Joe knows, which helps their father-son relationship thing. That way, he can be a better mentor to Barry, and they can have a better working relationship and parent-son relationship. I mean, these two have great chemistry on screen, and Jesse L. Martin just nails the father figure role right on the spot, while also being a good cop character, and a nice vessel to enter the world of the Central City Police Department. This series definitely took the idea from Arrow of having an ensemble be the main focus on the show and takes it to the next level. Even though none of the characters are doing anything with Flash, with superpowers, but they still have great camaraderie with one another. Even better than the way they handle it on Arrow. The way this cast works together is just great. Guys, this show is fucking amazing! Almost everything about this show is right. The structure is so good. The pacing is top-notch. Characters are great, writing's great, visual effects are great, Blake Neely's score never fails to impress. Everything about this show is so well done. It's obvious Warner Brothers Television has huge commitment to this show, that they're going all out with this show. This show is not afraid to be what it is, which is a superhero show about a person with major superpowers dressing up in a costume and going out and fighting other supervillains. There's no attempt to try to make it super duper realistic. I mean, they don't go way out there or anything, but it still feels like you're watching a comic book show. That doesn't feel the need to go dark and gritty in the name of realism. I mean, there's some realistic moments of this show, I'll give you that, but it doesn't come out like it's trying to be dark and gritty because it's afraid of its lighthearted material. No, this is a lighthearted show. Unlike Arrow, this is a show you can definitely watch with a family, and it's not in a pandering sort of way. I mean, it's fun. It's got relatable emotions, it's got its high moments, it's got its dark moments. It's such a well-balanced series that everyone could enjoy. Everyone, unless you just hate superheroes. That's the only reason why you wouldn't like this show, or you're a hardcore Marvel fanboy. Here's how I sum up my appreciation for this show. This is the kind of series I've been waiting to see my entire life. I've been waiting to see this kind of show. Not this show necessarily, but this type of show. This is the kind of show I would have wanted to see when I was 7 years old. I realized that watching the pilot episode, the moment that Barry first uses his super speed to run throughout Central City and do his thing, and contemplates being a hero for Central City, using his powers for good. The moment that happened, I felt like I was back in elementary school again. If the show can make me feel like I'm 10 years younger, that's mighty impressive. And I find myself running from room to room in my house, doing the hand blade motion, making zoom zoom sounds, and pretending that everything, all my surroundings are moving faster than they actually are. And mind you, I'm almost 20 years old. But when a show can create that kind of emotional response in me, I know I found something really special. This show is so great. When it crosses over with Arrow, Arrow gets so much better. Especially when they had a two-part crossover in the beginning of the season, the Flash versus Arrow storyline. When the Arrow episode of this storyline, Arrow got so great! And the season finale was actually probably one of the best first season finales I have ever seen in a show in my life. I mean, this show builds up to it. Really builds up. Like, every episode has been building up to this moment. I mean, every single one. The pacing's been building up to it. The character development's been building up to it. The stories have been building up to it. The little Easter eggs. And the season finale delivered And then some. Sometimes I'd be blushing, I'd have my mouth open real wide in happiness, and then sometimes I'd be clutching my hand around my mouth with my eyes squinted because I feel like I'm gonna tear up. It's so good, I don't know how Arrow was so bad. It shares the same showrunners. How is Arrow such a f*** up this season, and Flash is such a triumph? I mean, yes, I know in my Arrow Season 3 review I blamed Marc Guggenheim, who doesn't work on this show, which is probably a good thing. Guys, this is the one show I am most excited about returning this fall for another season. I am so excited for the second season of The Flash that as soon as this entire first season comes to Netflix, I'm gonna watch it all over again just to catch up. And I know everyone is saying Daredevil is the best superhero show on TV ever. Daredevil is a really good show. I'll give you that. But if you want to see a more lighthearted show about a superhero fighting supervillains with magnificent superhuman abilities, dressed in costume, doing stuff, sometimes in broad daylight, if you want something that feels super comic booky and executes it really well, The Flash is your show. For any person that claims they like superheroes and superhero programming, I will recommend this show 100%. No drawbacks, no holdbacks, no buts. I'd say you need to watch The Flash. Daredevil's great. I know Arrow sucks right now, but go watch The Flash. Berlanti, Kreisberg, David Nutter, Sarah Schechter, Geoff Johns, cast and crew, every single person that worked on this show, from Berlanti Productions, Warner Brothers Television, DC Entertainment, the CW, thank you for allowing this show to exist. And thank you for watching my review of The Flash Season 1. And I hope to see you next time.